Every leader who rises to power believes that loyalty will protect them, but Machiavelli warned that betrayal is inevitable. He looked at history and saw a brutal pattern repeating again and again, where the very people who once cheered the leader's rise were the ones who turned against them. He argued that power is never stable because human nature is never stable. People support a ruler only when it benefits them, but the moment their interests shift, they betray. A leader who expects permanent loyalty is already blind to the truth, because loyalty is a mask people wear when it suits them, and betrayal is the reality they reveal when times change. Imagine a king who is loved for his victories. The people celebrate him, the nobles praise him, and his soldiers swear undying allegiance. But when fortune turns, when a single defeat comes, when taxes rise, or when fear replaces hope, those same people whisper against him. Nobles plot, soldiers desert, and the people curse his name. Machiavelli saw this cycle and declared that betrayal is not an exception but the fate of every ruler. In his eyes, fear is more reliable than love, because love is fragile while fear endures. Think of Julius Caesar, adored by Rome, worshipped like a god, yet in a single day betrayed by his closest allies. Think of kings who trusted their courts only to be poisoned at their own tables. Think of generals betrayed by their armies the moment victory turned to defeat. Machiavelli teaches that betrayal is not a surprise but the natural consequence of power, because power breeds envy, fear, and ambition. He explained that the roots of betrayal are hidden in human desires. People want more than they are given, subjects crave freedom, allies crave profit, and advisors crave the throne themselves. No matter how generous or just a leader is, there will always be those who see weakness, those who believe they can rule better, and those who dream of taking his place. In such a world, every promise of loyalty is temporary, every friendship political, and every oath a tool of convenience. For 50 years or 5 years, the story repeats the same way. Leaders rise, win victories, and gain followers, but followers are like shadows, disappearing when light shifts. Betrayal is inevitable not because leaders are always cruel, but because human nature is selfish. A ruler might believe he can build eternal loyalty by kindness, but kindness creates expectation, and when expectation is not met, disappointment turns to resentment. That resentment fuels betrayal. Machiavelli's dark wisdom tells us that the leader must always be prepared. Trust no one fully, for even your closest friend can turn into your rival. Guard your power with vigilance, because the more powerful you are, the more dangerous your enemies will become. He believed that a wise leader uses fear as a shield, deception as a weapon, and suspicion as armor. The art of ruling is not about building eternal trust, but about surviving inevitable betrayal. Think of how betrayal operates silently. A general does not announce his treachery, he whispers in secret, waiting for the right moment. A minister does not show his disloyalty, he smiles while sharpening the knife. A people do not revolt overnight, they complain in private, grow bitter in silence, and erupt in rebellion when the leader least expects it. Machiavelli knew that the wise ruler never sleeps peacefully, for in every smile he must see a threat, and in every ally a possible enemy. But what makes betrayal certain is time. The longer a leader rules, the more enemies he creates. Decisions that help some will anger others, victories today will create jealousy tomorrow, and the higher the climb, the greater the fall. No throne is eternal, and no ruler dies with the same friends he rose with. Machiavelli showed that betrayal is not the end of leadership, it is part of leadership. To rule is to live surrounded by daggers, to trust while knowing that trust is an illusion. History proves him right. Napoleon's generals abandoned him. Alexander's empire fractured the moment he died. Kings trusted guards who opened gates for the enemy. Presidents trusted allies who turned into opponents. Each believed they were different. Each thought loyalty would save them, and each discovered that betrayal is the shadow of power. Machiavelli's lesson is not to despair but to see clearly. If you are a leader, expect betrayal and plan for it. If you are a follower, know that loyalty is a game of advantage. And if you seek power, understand that your greatest threat will not come from your enemies, but from those closest to you. That is why Machiavelli said every leader will be betrayed. Because betrayal is not an accident of politics, it is the very heart of politics. The dark truth he revealed centuries ago still echoes today. Modern leaders, presidents, CEOs, generals, and kings face the same fate. One day they are celebrated, the next day they are abandoned. Their followers turn into critics, their allies into rivals, and their friends into enemies. The faces change, but the cycle remains. Power promises glory, but Machiavelli warned that behind that glory waits betrayal. So when you think of leadership, do not picture eternal loyalty or lasting love. Picture a battlefield where even your allies may strike you, where even your victories plant seeds of envy, and where betrayal is not the end but the natural course. This is the wisdom Machiavelli left us, a wisdom as dark as it is true, a warning that every leader, no matter how strong, must one day face the knife of betrayal. Every time a leader rises, the crowd gathers around him with cheers, songs, and promises of loyalty. It feels eternal, it feels unbreakable, but Machiavelli observed with cold eyes that this loyalty is only an illusion. He believed that human beings are creatures of advantage. They follow only as long as following benefits them. And the instant it does not, betrayal comes swiftly. He was not romantic about politics. He stripped away every comforting lie, and what remained was a truth as sharp as a dagger. Every leader will be betrayed. Think of the Roman emperors, one after another rising with the promise of stability, yet almost all of them fell not to enemies from outside but to betrayal within. Guards turned on their masters, senators who praised them in public whispered of their downfall in private, generals who kissed their hands led rebellions. Machiavelli wrote that the throne is always surrounded by smiles that hide daggers, because the closer a man is to power, the greater his temptation to seize it. Betrayal does not always come in the form of assassination or rebellion. Sometimes it comes through subtle disobedience, through a minister who delays orders, through an ally who promises aid and then disappears, through a people who once raised banners in your honor but later burned them in the street. This is why Machiavelli warned that rulers must never rest on the illusion of love. Love is fragile, built on emotion, but fear is durable, built on necessity. When people fear a leader, their loyalty lasts longer, but when they love him, they abandon him the moment love fades. He gave an unflinching warning. A ruler who is naive, who trusts too deeply, is already preparing his own fall. History proves this truth. Think of Richard II of England, who trusted the loyalty of his nobles only to be betrayed and overthrown. Think of Louis XVI, who believed in the devotion of his people only to face their fury in revolution. Think of modern leaders who rise on promises of hope, adored by millions, yet within years are despised, mocked, and abandoned even by their closest allies. Betrayal does not discriminate across centuries, it is the shadow that follows every leader. Machiavelli believed that betrayal is rooted in ambition, in envy, and in fear. A courtier envies the ruler's position, a general fears being replaced, a people grow restless under restrictions. Each carries within them a seed of betrayal, and given the right moment, that seed grows. The wise ruler does not hope to prevent it forever, but to manage it, to control its timing, and to turn it against his rivals before it reaches him. That is why Machiavelli valued cunning above goodness. He argued that it is better to appear virtuous than to be virtuous, for appearances keep people calm while cunning keeps you alive. A leader who trusts too much in morality will be destroyed by those who have no such illusions. A leader who learns to suspect, to deceive, and to act ruthlessly when needed may survive longer, though never forever. He was clear: power is temporary, loyalty is conditional, betrayal is certain. Every generation will watch their leaders rise with applause and abandon them with curses. Every throne will eventually shake, every crown will slip, every ruler will discover that those who once swore eternal devotion will one day whisper of his downfall. Machiavelli's dark truth is not meant to frighten but to awaken. It teaches that leadership is not about preventing betrayal, but about surviving it as long as possible. Look closely at the world today. Presidents face scandals, allies leak secrets, corporations replace their CEOs, generals are abandoned when wars go wrong. It is the same pattern, repeating as it has for centuries. Leaders are praised in one season and betrayed in the next. The lesson remains eternal. If you rise to power, expect betrayal. Because betrayal is not the exception, it is the destiny of every leader. Every age writes the same story with different faces, and Machiavelli, with his cold realism, wanted us to see that truth. He looked at the rise and fall of rulers and said clearly, betrayal is not an accident, it is a law of human affairs. Every leader will eventually be betrayed because people are not loyal to the person, they are loyal to their own needs. When those needs are satisfied, they cheer. When those needs are ignored, they turn. And when a better opportunity appears, they betray. Think of how fragile loyalty truly is. A soldier swears to defend his commander, but if he is unpaid or hungry, his oath dissolves in a moment. A noble bends his knee to the king, but if another faction offers him more power, his loyalty shifts. A people cry out that they love their ruler, but the moment taxes rise, the same people cry for his downfall. Machiavelli saw that loyalty is nothing more than a transaction, a contract written in sand, erased by the next wave of misfortune. Consider Caesar, who gave Rome victories, wealth, and glory. The people adored him, his closest allies stood by his side, yet in one moment of conspiracy, knives found his body. Et tu, Brute? Was not just a cry of shock, it was the cry of a man who realized the truth Machiavelli would later explain. Betrayal comes not from your enemies, but from your friends. Think also of Napoleon, who carried France to power, yet when his star dimmed, his own generals abandoned him, his allies switched sides, and his empire crumbled. The betrayal was not a surprise, it was destiny. Machiavelli would remind us that betrayal is the natural child of ambition. Those who serve a ruler imagine themselves in his place. Ministers whisper, advisors plot, generals calculate, even family members dream of the throne. The closer they are to power, the more dangerous they become. A distant enemy may threaten, but the dagger that kills the leader is almost always held by someone standing beside him. That is why Machiavelli urged rulers to be suspicious of even their closest allies, to never surrender themselves fully to trust, and to recognize that power is kept not by faith but by vigilance. He explained that people are fickle, blown about like leaves by the winds of fortune. They love a ruler when times are good, when victories are frequent, when prosperity flows. But let hardship arrive, and those same people shift like the wind. The love of the people is shallow, but their hatred is deep. A wise ruler, therefore, does not build his foundation on love, but on fear, for fear binds people in a way that affection never can. Love may be betrayed, but fear endures. Even in small matters of leadership, the same principle applies. A manager in business, a general in an army, a king on a throne all eventually feel the sting of betrayal. A colleague turns competitor, a soldier disobeys an order, a trusted friend leaks secrets. Betrayal is the tax of leadership, the price paid for holding power over others. Machiavelli's advice was harsh but clear: expect betrayal, prepare for it, and use it when you can. Those who fail to anticipate betrayal are always its first victims. Look at how nations have risen and fallen. Empires do not collapse only because of foreign enemies, they collapse because betrayal weakens them from within. Allies desert, generals rebel, citizens revolt, and in each act the leader learns the same bitter lesson. The face of betrayal may change, but the pattern never does. This is why Machiavelli's words remain timeless, because he did not describe the ideal, but the real. He did not dream of a world without treachery, he warned us of the one we already live in. The tragic truth is that betrayal does not only end leaders, it defines them. How a leader responds to betrayal often becomes their legacy. Some fall swiftly, unable to comprehend the disloyalty of those they trusted. Others survive, turning suspicion into strength, crushing traitors before they strike, and ruling longer by accepting that trust is an illusion. Machiavelli admired the latter, those who saw through the mask of loyalty and ruled with eyes open, not blinded by hope. So ask yourself, why did he say every leader will be betrayed? Because power is heavy and everyone around the throne wants to carry it? Because loyalty is conditional and human ambition is endless? Because betrayal is not the exception, it is the rule. Leaders may resist it for a time, they may delay it, they may outwit it, but in the end, betrayal comes for all. And when it does, the leader who has prepared may survive, but the one who believed in eternal loyalty will be destroyed. That is Machiavelli's dark truth, a truth written in the blood of emperors, kings, presidents, and generals across every age. It is not meant to comfort us. It is meant to open our eyes, to strip away illusions, to reveal the raw and ruthless reality of power. Every leader will be betrayed. Not some, not most every leader. That is the destiny of power, and that is why Machiavelli's warning still echoes today.